Hi everyone, I've got a 2010 Infiniti QX56 with 120,000 miles, and the problem I'm trying to solve is the problem of no heat on the driver's side. I've got heat on the passenger side, but none on the driver's side, dual climate control. You'll see on the forums a number of folks have reported clicking. I've got no clicking sound here, and in fact what I found is the actuator that controls the airflow is not moving at all. So basically took it to the dealer, looked at the forums, some good info out there, but didn't really see much in the way of pictures or how-to videos, so capturing it here. The dealer said $630 to fix it, fixed it here for about $28 and about 4 to 5 hours of labor. There are 5 actuators. This part number I'm showing you here is the part, $28. It is the one that's up in the dash towards the front of the vehicle, so it's tough to get at. And the last thing I'll say is that although the parts were cheap and the tools required are really basic, I'm showing you a picture here, basically just a Phillips head screwdriver, a pen light with a magnet to grab things you drop, and a hex with a 5.5 millimeter head on it is all you really need. It does require a ton of patience because you're dealing with a really tight space and you really can't see what you're doing while you're working. Here we go.
To start, first you remove the glove box by removing these 3 screws across the top and removing the plastic cover. You can see I've got one of the connectors, plastic connectors pulled out there. So pull those out carefully so they don't break. There's 2 of them. And then you've got 2 screws here on the bottom that hold the glove box in place. Remove all those first. Once you have all the screws removed and the bottom plate cover, the bottom plastic cover removed, there's little clips at the top of the glove box. You can see one of them right there. And then there's a couple of clips over here on the right hand side. You can see the white one there on the inside. So I just grabbed underneath with the glove box open, I just kind of grabbed underneath the top of the glove box there and just slowly worked it back and forth, just trying to be careful I didn't rip it out and break any clips. When removing that last piece, on the right hand side of the glove box, you see that little plastic clip at the top. That one just took a little bit of work, but I was trying to be careful with it so I didn't rip it off. But once those 3 clips, 1, 2, 3 on this side are detached, and with those other screws removed, you can actually remove the glove box. Now looking up into the glove box, upper left corner, you'll hear guys talk about removing the top of the heater housing. So I'm showing my flashlight there. You can see there's 3, and there's actually 4 screws that hold on that housing on top of the heater housing. So you can see I have my ratchet on top of the 4th there, just pulling that one out also. Forgot about that. Here's the top of the heater housing I just pulled out, and just a quick shot. You can see with it removed there at the top of the video, you can see you can have a little more room to get your arm back up in there. Just a quick shot for reference. You can see I'm putting my hand above that housing that I just removed, and right now my hand is if I push it towards the front of the vehicle, my hand is on top of the assembly, the actuator assembly that I'm going to remove. I can feel 1, 2, 3 screws. As other guys have noted, the 3rd screw is towards the front, the firewall. Probably tough. It's going to be tough to get out, but I can kind of feel what I'm dealing with. I can't see it, but I can tell basically I'm in the right spot.
So looking towards the front of the vehicle, you're now seeing a shot of the old actuator assembly on top of a bracket. What you've got is a total of 6 screws. They don't all show up in this picture. It's tough to get a shot. But there's 3 5.5 or 3 7 millimeter Torx head screws that are in red here. And then the green arrow and 2 circles show 3 5.5 millimeter hex screws that hold the bracket on. I started by trying to remove the 3 red screws, the 7 millimeters on the top for just the assembly. But as some guys have noted, that one in the upper left is very difficult to get off. So in hindsight, I would have focused on just removing the 5.5 millimeter hex screws that hold the bracket on and taking the whole bracket off. That would have saved me quite a bit of time.
I ended up having too much of a problem with that last screw up against the firewall, this one right here. I couldn't get that thing out with the bracket still in. So as you can see, this screw here, the 5.5 millimeter, is towards the front or towards the rear of the vehicle, closer to the rear, so there's more space between, you know, if the firewall's here, there's more space between the firewall and that screw to get your socket or whatever tool you're using to get it in out of there. I ended up using this thing, basically just a show it to you, smaller profile socket that I could get in there to get that thing out. So I ended up pulling the whole bracket off, and I'll show you what it looks like without the bracket on there in 1 second. But then I've actually taken the old one off and just screwed the new part back on.
Once you've got the actuator and the bracket removed, this is a view of what you have left. You can see the yellow, the yellow shaded cam there with the arm underneath it. And the one tricky part about removing the bracket is you have to make sure you get this back in place properly. This shot here shows 2 pins. After you take off the yellow cam, you've got the white arm, and you see the little white pin in that, and then you have a black pin. So when you put the cam back on, it needs to slot down over those two in a specific way in order for it to work. I'll show you that here on the next clip. On this clip, you can see with the cam back in place, the white pin on the bottom arrow slides into the open slot. There's a slot on the underside of the cam that doesn't go through, but that's where the black pin sits in that cam on the underside of the cam. That's where the top arrow is pointing. And this final shot shows the assembly back in place with all the screws intact. Put everything back, glove box, housing cover, and checked it out. Everything seems to be working fine. So got this one taken care of.